All right, what's going on, everybody? So today I've got three pickups for the Super Collection that I would consider to be underrated for various different reasons. And I think it's really important in a market as crazy as this one right now to find those underrated cards. They might not always be the cheapest cards, but in my opinion, these were a very good value for what I ended up picking them up for. So let's go ahead and get into it. My first pickup today is actually a minor league card, and I've crossed off a lot of the boxes that I need to for the minor league cards. Still have a handful to pick up, a lot of the rarer ones as well that I'm not really too focused on because, well, I don't want to have to give an arm and a leg to acquire them. But this is a 2002 Grandstand, which is a very popular manufacturer of these minor league cards, particularly for team sets, and also in this case the Florida State League Top Prospects set. So this one is Miggy. It's a no number card. All the cards in this set are no numbers, and it's a good shot. I mean, here he is in the Jupiter Hammerheads uniform. Looks very thin, very young in this photo, as you would expect him to in 2002. I mean, he was born in 1983, so he was 19 years old when, well, maybe even younger, depending on when this photo was taken. He could have even been 18 years old. Uh, and really, I like these early cards, and it's not a rookie. It is technically a pre-rookie card, but it's not one that garners a lot of attention. It's not from a major brand such as Topps or Bowman. So some of these, I guess, more so oddball issues, I wouldn't really consider Grandstand an oddball issue. It's fairly well known, I would say. It definitely has some prominence out there. But I do believe that these are underrated cards right now. So that might be something to kind of look at if you're someone who is looking to collect or is collecting a modern player, someone who's actively playing or has recently retired, maybe someone who is on their way to the big leagues. Some of these minor league cards, they're kind of interesting. Maybe you can pick some of those up along the way. I know that Topps, with all the different Bowman brands now, as well as their focus on the minor league baseball, does put out a lot of products that are catered towards those. And even some of the top stars, even a Mike Trout, I'll go as far as that. You can get some of the minor league cards for fairly affordable prices, I would say. So this is my first of the underrated pickups today. This was acquired in a trade on Instagram. What I got partial PayPal, and then I traded away my 2010 or 2008, 2019. Wow, Pete Alonso Topps rookie in a PSA 10. So I gave up that to receive this and some PayPal, uh, friends and family. So that was cool. Let me move into pickup number two. This is a set that has definitely taken off quite a bit in the latter half of the 2010s decade, and I imagine it will be one that is pretty popular when it releases again in 2020. I cannot remember exactly when this is supposed to drop. I know that the bots will probably get their hands on it before I do, but this is 2019 Topps Chrome Sapphire Edition, and it is the orange parallel. So they're not called refractors in Sapphire, but it definitely has the shine because it has that atomic refractor finish that Topps used to do. I don't really think they do well, they do it in like the Bowman's Best products, but mostly this atomic look is probably more now closely associated with the Panini Cracked Ice releases from the Panini releases, not just in baseball, but across all the sports that Panini does. Now, this card is one that I've had my eye on, not particularly this parallel, but just one of the parallels. They have done parallels in every release of Sapphire. This one was a new edition this year in 2019, the orange. Previously, they had the reds and the golds. Now they've kind of expanded it where they added purple and orange. Oddly enough, the only color that they don't really have is blue, and the product is called Sapphire. Sapphire is blue inherently, so that's always bewildered me with this 19 Sapphire release. But I think it's a good looking card. I do love the atomic look, the cracked ice look, whichever you excuse me, whichever you prefer. And orange does work well with the Tigers colors. I will say orange is not my favorite color, but it definitely bodes well that the Tigers, their road uniforms at least have orange in them, not so much with the home uniforms, as you can see here. So these are numbered to 25, and you guys know how tough Sapphire is. So you're going to get about one numbered parallel per box if you happen to pull an autograph that's numbered. That'd be kind of a bonus. And I've seen some boxes where you get really lucky and you get two, but for the most part, what I've seen is that they generally fall one per box, and that's the orange kind of being the base version, if you will, of the parallels. While a purple is a little bit more rare, a red is a little bit more rare, a superfractor is a little bit more rare than that, etc., etc. So you're pretty much going to get at least one orange or better per box. Now the thing is that these encompass the entire 700 card Topps checklist, which means that really you have a 1 in 700 shot of pulling a parallel of the player you want, assuming that the odds of each individual player are the same across the board, which we know they are because all of the players are serial numbered to the exact same number on each of the different parallels. So for a box set, I think those boxes are like $400, and they probably have gone up even more with how much buzz is around Tatis now. I can't even begin to fathom how much they would be. 2019 Sapphire, although it has about probably quadruple the print run of its predecessors, being 16, 17, and 18. These parallels are definitely not very tough, or excuse me, they are very tough to pull, especially if you're looking for the specific player. So if you put aside the odds of what it is to pull the specific parallel, I think it more so you have to multiply that out by to pull the card that you want with that parallel. And then the odds for Cabrera, it's whatever the pack odds would be times 700 to pull a Cabrera. So I've only seen one other orange ice, and I've seen, well, one other orange, I'll call it. I've seen one purple as well that I missed out on. So I got this for what I thought was a steal. I paid $30 plus shipping for it. And yeah, that's my second underrated pickup of the day. And then moving into the last one, this is one that I actually had instant buyer's remorse on because I was negotiating with the seller and my computer was just running a tad behind. Sometimes that happens. It might have been just eBay was a little slow. Maybe my cookies or cache or whatever it's called was full. But I accidentally hit accept offer because of the lag. And there's really, once you hit accept offer on the counter offer screen, there is like no confirm button. So I wasn't committed to buy it. And I was like, oh, I kind of overpaid because I didn't want to pay what the seller was offering. And I mentioned this to a friend, and he knows who he is. And he thought that it was a pretty good value anyway. So we kind of got to talking, and the more and more that I think about it, the more and more I'm thinking, you know what, maybe this wasn't so bad. And I'll tell you what I paid for it here in a second, but this is a 2018, well, it is the 2018 Topps flagship black printing plate. 1 of 1. Now what's really weird is that if you saw one of my recent videos where I showed off the 2019 Gallery magenta printing plate, I talked about printing plates in general, and I know that they're not everybody's favorite. This was actually the plate that I was thinking of, oddly enough. I'm not BSing you here. That's me keeping it real with you. This plate for some reason came to mind. I guess it was somewhat of a hobby deja vu, if you will. And then miraculously, it kind of just out of nowhere, I had never seen it pop up before, appears for sale 2 years after the release, and then probably about 2.5 actually to be more accurate now. So it's been quite a while. I don't think people are readily ripping 2018 Topps Series 1 at the moment, although there are some pretty good cards in there. The point being is that to find a printing plate of Cabrera, I wouldn't say is too difficult. I think there are plenty of options out there, and if you're patient enough, you can get one for around the cost of a blaster. I think if you're really patient enough, I know that I've gotten a couple that were right around that cost, and they were big wins for me at the time. Maybe you have to pay a little bit more of a premium for a player like Cabrera, but if you collect someone who might not be on, the tier of the future Hall of Famer or an All-Star tier, former All-Star tier, whatever the case may be, might be a little less expensive. And then if you want to collect someone like Trout, well, that's going to be a little bit more expensive. But to get a printing plate, I've always thought was cool. It's, as they say here on the back, this is the actual plate used to manufacture a card, and then the card that it's depicting here. And I have always thought that was cool, but this is actually for the flagship card. And I think if there's any card that, if you're collecting baseball and you're a player, what's the first thing that you look at? Their flagship releases, I would say. Like you get that's an essential, I think, for a lot of collectors. I know that it's so much so that one of the more popular PSA registries for a lot of different player collectors that I've seen is the basic top set. And I think that I know that at least in my collecting, I have definitely made sure when I was starting off early on to complete the top base run of the ones that I was missing. And now I'm kind of going back and working on some of the parallels, in particular the golds and the blacks, because they span Cabrera's entire career. So those are the ones that I have definitely targeted the most. But if there are some deals that present themselves on some of the one and dones or some of the ones that have popped up in recent years, I'll jump on those. Printing plates are kind of in that middle ground though, because there have always been printing plates in Cabrera's player run, but they really just don't pop up that often. Especially as time goes on, these are the type of cards that get cemented into collections. So I'm very curious to know how this came to be at basically for sale on eBay. Just because this is not something that you'd see too often, but I think with how integral the flagship cards are to my view of super collecting, this one was a great purchase at the end of the day. After I kind of was regretting it at first, now I don't have any regrets. I paid $90 for this plus shipping. Is that high for a printing plate? Yes, that's why I didn't want to accept that counter offer, but I accidentally hit the button to accept it. And I think that's perfectly okay now because, well, this is my only chance to get this card, and I really wanted it. So sometimes when you really want a card and it's as unique as this one, you have to pay up for it. And I think that this is an important lesson too, is that I'm basing this price off of comps, of course, for other one-of-one printing plates of Cabrera that have sold. Particularly black plates, I think, hold a premium because they have the most details, and they are some of the most sought after. I would argue they are the most sought after of the four colors for printing plates. But with this card, I thought that was one that I had to have. And when there's a card like that that appeals to you, and it doesn't have to be a one-of-one, that is definitely the best time to kind of throw completed sales on eBay by the wayside. I know how important they are in the hobby. It is something that I use daily, is checking eBay completed sales, and it's really something that drives the hobby. But there are some cases where you really have to just buy the card, and sometimes you get an incredible deal that is way below comps. I've been there before. Sometimes you have to kind of pay up and maybe it doesn't go for as much later on down the line. I have also been there before. And really, I'm not buying these cards in particular, these Cabrera cards for my collection, with the hope that they are going to, the comps on them will rise over time, if you will. Would I like that to happen? Of course I would. It's nice to know that the collection that you have is valuable or has value to it, but more so what matters to me is the value that I assign to it. So to me, it's just really cool to own a piece of, I'm going to go as far as to say own a piece of Topps history, to have the plate that was used to manufacture one of Cabrera's cards in the Topps flagship set, which I hold very near and dear to my heart. So that was my little soapbox moment in terms of the super collecting underrated pickups that I had, and just kind of sometimes the eBay completed sales, as reliable as that may be at times, you have to deviate course in certain situations, I would say, and you have to go with what your gut tells you, which is kind of what I did here. So let me know what you think of today's pickups down below. Have you had any underrated pickups yourself lately? These all came in on the same day, so that was a nice little mail day. There you have it. I do appreciate you tuning in. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. But until next time, take care. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.